of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, I hand it over to our treasurer, Ms. Lochte, for item number 4, the proposed rate impacts and tax ratios.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. So we are now officially at day 3 of the 2025 draft budget deliberations. So this process started back in August and through September, where department heads prepared budgets in consultation with staff, incorporating public feedback received throughout the year. In October and November, these budgets were reviewed by the CAO, treasurer, and committee chairs. We have deliberated for 2.5 days now, so we had full-day deliberations on December 10th and 11th. We had an evening session on January 6th and a public meeting on January 14th. So after today's meeting, we should be in a position to formally adopt the budget by council on February 18th. So we have scheduled this meeting till 9, but we don't have a lot left, so I don't anticipate the meeting certainly taking until the full amount of time allotted. Just a reminder that formal motions for any budget items have to be made for any budget line item changes. And with that, I will talk a little bit about our tax ratio and tax rate impact based on what's been approved so far for the 2025 draft budget. So similar to last year and over the past several years, assessment values continue to reflect the 2016 base year. So assessments across Pembroke, which is what property taxes are based on, will be the same in 2024 unless there were specific changes to the property. So for example, if there was new construction, a garage was added, that kind of thing. So because of this, the city's start and revenue neutral tax ratios are the same. And these ratios are something that will need to be looked at once MPAC finally updates the assessment values for properties in the city of Pembroke. So at this time, I'm recommending that the city accept the start ratio scenario for the 2025 tax year. So essentially that's retaining the same tax ratios as 2024 with no changes.
Comments, discussion, motions? Mr. Councillor Keel.
I'll make that motion that's no longer on the screen in front of me. That committee accepts the start ratio scenario for the 2025 tax year.
We have a seconder, Councillor Purcell. Discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Carried.
So the next item of discussion is the tax rate analysis. So as was presented at the public meeting, currently the tax levy is sitting at a $27.4 million amount, which is the funding that's raised through property taxes across the city. This currently represents an 8.98% levy increase or a $2.2 million increase after growth. And it does include $22.4 million of capital projects. And as we saw, the PBIA as well is looking at a 3.56% rate increase on a budget of $213,028. So again, there were a number of drivers behind this increase, which I won't go through again. We did go through this during the public meeting, but certainly our base operations, which include our cost of living adjustments and benefit price increases for staff, the need for asset management and ongoing maintenance of our assets and infrastructure that the city owns and maintains, the decrease in interest income, the pool reopening, transit, social issues, and economic development are all factors in this increase. I did reach out to the county this morning to see if the shared service budget for 2025 has had any changes to date, and I was told that the amount presented in this slide still holds. However, they do have two further meetings before their budget is adopted. So at this time, these estimates for 2025 shared services are still appropriate. And as I've mentioned in the public meeting, we are still facing a pretty significant funding gap in capital. our investment in capital annually is not keeping pace with inflation, and at this point, the cumulative impact of that is a $2 million shortfall. So based on an 8.98% levy increase on a residential property assessed at $185,000, the property tax increase related to this draft budget is $277 a year. A 12-unit multi-residential apartment building property assessed at $700,000 would be a $2,031 increase. Commercial retail establishment assessed at $218,000 would be a $646 increase in property taxes a year, and an industrial property assessed at $184,700 would be a $727 increase per year. So I have distributed to council an update. So I do have this slide, which just shows different scenarios. So if we were to change the levy, what that impact would be on taxes on a property assessed at $185,000. So that's just for your information. I have also distributed basically a summary on this kind of single page, which is the normal summary that I prepare for everybody, which looks at, again, these averaged assessed properties in the city and combining all of the increases together. So taking property taxes, education taxes, our garbage fees, our Ottawa Valley waste recovery fees, as well as our water and sewer, and looking at the combined difference. So if we add all of these things in together, the monthly increase for the total bill from the city would increase for a residential property assessed at $185,000 a year. The monthly increase would be $29.77 a month. A multi-residential 12-unit building would be a monthly increase of $217.88. A commercial retail property monthly increase would be $66.53. And an industrial property assessed at the $184,700 would be an increase of $74.54 a month. So that's combined water, sewer, garbage, everything all in. So at this point, I guess we're going to go back out to the floor to see if there is any other final discussions on this draft budget, and then adopt a motion to accept. So I will pass the floor back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Feedback, questions from council, motions? Councilor Purcell?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity where we could look at supporting Busker Fest for 2025. I know there was a little bit of a discussion around, Busker operation, the Busker Fest operations, and I'm just wondering if there's any type of opportunity to provide some support, just rejigging a couple numbers that are already in the existing budget. It won't be any additional dollars, but I'm proposing is a $5,000 and then waiving the fees in terms of the barricades, which is, I think, is $2,250. So,
You're making a motion?
yes, I'll make that as a
Do
motion.
we have a seconder? Yes. Mayor Gervais?
I had seconded so we can discuss it.
Yeah. So we have a motion on the floor for the Busker Fest for $5,000 plus waiving the fee for the barricades. Discussion?
Oh, just question. We just want clarification on the motion.
So is it to add 5,000 to the budget, or is it to replace something in the
To add.
budget?
No, to reallocate, to replace. I'd probably just leave that up to the treasurer in terms of the $5,000, and that there may be some little wiggle room on a couple lines.
So you made the motion. I want to speak first to it.
Certainly. So I know that, I also attended Busker Fest in the summertime, and it really was a really great event for our downtown businesses. The feedback that I received is that it was one of the best events that was actually held here within the city of Pembroke. So that being said, and knowing that our downtown businesses had a little bit of a rough go, and I think things are improving in terms of our downtown, in terms of some of the experiences that were either really true concerns, or they just kind of got a like a life of their own. That being said, I do think that promotion of Pembroke in terms of the downtown, and having the Busker Fest this year is very very important to continue. And I think I think that the organizers are asking for a commitment from this council in regards to supporting the Busker event. And she did provide me a statement, and I know that there was lots of discussion at her December 16th meeting, and she did like to address some concerns in regards to some information that was exchanged on the December the 16th that they figured was entirely false, and the committee was specifically donated taxpayer funds to the pool. They did not make such a donation. In fact, just gave the opportunity for the volunteer group to fundraise independently during the event with no impact on budget. They felt that accusations in terms of financial mismanagement are both baseless and harmful to their reputation. Additionally, remarks route double dipping and suggestion that the event's success negates the need for future fundings, fails to recognize the economic and cultural benefits that Busker Fest provides to the city of Pembroke. And as a free event for everybody, the revenue was actually minimal. Last year's Busker Fest primarily was funded through contributions from local community members, and I know that 3 councillors here also supported individually. The City of Pembroke contributed towards $1,000 towards the barricades, and $5,000 from Parks and Rec, and they figured that this is minimal to the city funding of similar events such as Canada Day and the multicultural event, with Canada Day being $36,700 and Multicultural Festival being $10,000, not including staff costs and for planning those events. So I guess they're urging council, first of all, to retract the false statements that were made publicly, acknowledging the hard work and dedication of the volunteers, and that adequate funding and support be provided. To assist with operational concerns such as the setup, garbage removal, or through grant writing assistance for future Busker Fests, as well as garbage removal, street sweeping, those types of things, and of course the barricade erecting and tearing down. And they respectfully ask council to reaffirm its commitment. So that was the statement that I received from Joanna Ells today.
Did you want to speak to it?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as was Councillor Purcell was saying, he said very well in terms of where we're at the present moment. You know, when you look at the multicultural event, it draws in a significant number of individuals, and let's never underestimate the power of tourism into the Pembroke economy. And we help the multicultural event, an event that we, as the city of Pembroke, assist with. You know, I'm not minimizing Jordan DeRoche's group and other groups as they try to and do assist with, whether it be you know, logistics, water, other situations, barricades, and so forth. So there's that element, but largely it's ran by Karthi Rajamani from the Pembroke Public Library and a whole host of volunteers. So similar to that, in this particular situation, is you have a group of individuals that came forward, hugely successful. I don't doubt in terms of the tourism impact, because like others, we assisted in terms of working it. I know I worked at staggering shifts with Councillor Purcell, watching different individuals coming and going, and this might sound strange, but you can normally tell when an individual is from Pembroke and when they're not from Pembroke, if you live here long enough. And so certainly a number of individuals that I didn't recognize, but were here, they were participating. And yes, maybe the direct impact in terms of, did I see them going into a store and patronage towards a particular store? Maybe not on that day, but it's like when we do conferences, you're constantly trying to do conferences so that, like the International Silver Stick, there was Americans here, there was individuals from all over the place coming here, and so if you do a bang-up job, then they tell other people, those individuals come and they spend their dollars here in the hub, the heart of the Ottawa Valley. So certainly I support the motion that's being brought forward. Maybe a little unorthodox, but in terms of what Councillor Purcell is asking, I believe, and staff are asking as well in terms of where the dollars might come from, and it will fuel a potential motion to reconsider, is I'm curious, without getting into a lot of detail at the present moment, on page 17, there was a motion to increase certain dollars there, and what I'm wondering, without getting into specifics or too much information, I'm just wondering what staff's view is on whether that 75,000 on line 60, I believe, line 60, whether or not staff have any views on reducing that line, without getting into specifics.
Yeah, so, we'd have to take a break and take a look at what it would mean to reconsider, given that we are in a council or a committee meeting versus a council meeting. So I'm not sure if we want to go there. And in regards to the matter, it's still not settled. So in regards to the dollar value, I don't know how much there will be used or not used. So I'm not providing you any information, but because it's not settled, I don't know if we need more money or not.
May, Mr. Chair, just to be supplemental to that, in terms of what Councillor Purcell is asking in terms of, and I think what I'm picking up, as my son says, what you're laying down in terms of, does staff believe that they can find $5,000 to do what's being requested without much difficulty? That's...
Yeah, to that answer, yes, we can find $5,000.
Thank you, Mayor Gervais. Councillor Keel.
So I find this motion just to be bizarre on a number of fronts. Number one, as Councillor Purcell pointed out, the city last year supported the Busker Fest to, I believe, the tune of $5,000 from its programming budget. Director DeRoche is nodding his head. So, I mean, that was a venue that they used to get $5,000, which would be the venue that I suggest that they should probably use again this year. We still haven't received any actual request for any amount from the Busker Fest. They've indicated that they want additional funds, but they haven't told us for what purpose. They haven't told us what their budget for this year. I mean, basically at this point in time, they haven't told us anything. I know for a fact that there was a surplus after last year. Well, how much is that surplus? Has anybody here been told what the surplus is? No. Well, how much is the surplus from last year, Deputy Mayor?
It's around $12,000. It'll go towards this year's event.
Yeah. So last year they raised more money than they needed. They're starting this year with a $12,000 surplus. They haven't yet told us what they need money for. They haven't yet told us how much money they want. But we're going to give them $5,000 sitting around this table right now? That is absurd. And it just goes to show you that in this town, it's all about who you know. There's no other group that would send us a letter saying, we want some money, we don't know how much, we're not telling you what it's for, but we'd like some councillors around the table to put up their hand and vote for it. That's outrageous. So I would move that we amend this motion. I would move that we amend the motion to deny the request at this time without prejudice to Busker Fest bringing in future applications to the Parks and Rec Department, to the Tourism Department, or to Council for future funding. So basically, we deny it today, but I don't want our motion today to accidentally kill the possibility that they receive money. but they should have to bring to us some sort of budget. They should have to tell us what we're getting for it. Last year, we said we didn't give any extra money to Music for a Cause. That was a nonprofit event that brought thousands of people to the waterfront. It has effectively, over the last couple of years, sort of reimagined our old waterfront festival that the residents of the city of Pembroke continuously ask to be returned. We didn't give any money to Ribfest. In fact, we charged Ribfest, I believe, full price for the use of the marina. Director Durocher, again, is nodding his head. He's far better situated this meeting than he has in the past, to my field of vision. So we didn't give them any money, and that attracted thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people to the Pembroke Marina. So I don't have any disagreement with what Councillor Purcell or the mayor has said about how good Buskerfest was. It was good. I was there the entire day. There were certainly thousands of people there. I would agree with the mayor that many were from outside the city of Pembroke. But we're talking about today in the middle of budget. I'm guessing one of the most expensive budgets in recent history is giving them money that they haven't actually asked for a purpose that we don't know, when last year they have $12,000 in surplus left over. One can only assume, and I would hope that this year their fundraising efforts, I hope, will be even more powerful than last year, because I would like to think that the people and the businesses of the city of Pembroke recognize how great an event that was last year. I hope that there will be more sponsors. But to budget for something without knowing what it's for, I mean, again, we didn't give Buskerfest, or we didn't give Ribfest money. We didn't give Music for a Cause money. Again, two other not-for-profit events. I don't know what we're doing here, other than, people know people, and so they approach us councillors and they ask for money. But again, before I vote to give people money, I want to know what it's for. I want to know how much it is. I want to know what their overall budget is. And I would think that the Buskerfest committee, which I think just got up and running, I think this month in earnest for this year's planning, I think they would be able to give us an actual plan as to where the money should be going. So I don't support it right now, but I do not want to prevent them from applying to our community funds, to our tourism funds, or to this council for money when they, in fact, have an ask that is better filled out.
Okay, go ahead.
So just a point of clarification. So we did receive a letter from the PBIA on December 9th requesting support for Pembroke Buskerfest from the PBIA and the chair of the Buskerfest committee. So they did note that there was over 6,000 attendees from Renfrew County and beyond for the 2024 event. They did specifically ask for a financial contribution in terms of a sponsorship of $15,000 to support event programming and logistics, a fee waiver for road closure barriers, additional garbage cans and staff to manage waste effectively during the festival, and street sweeping 1 to 2 days prior to the event. They did also indicate that they'd be very, happy to meet with any representatives to discuss this request in more detail and explore how they can work together to make Buskerfest 2025 another unforgettable experience. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. So that was emailed in December.
So Councillor Keel has made a motion to amend. Do we have a seconder of his motion?
Sorry, Chair, it wouldn't be up to the mover to accept the amendment? Or is it, no? Okay.
So we don't have a seconder for the amendment. So we go to the original motion.
Brian,
Yeah.
you're not looking at me. I had my hand up.
Oh, I can't see you. You're seconding the, I couldn't see. I saw Councillor Giacomo. Sorry about that.
I'm seconding the motion, and I also have a comment.
Okay, so we have motion on the floor to amend to have the Buskerfest present a report and a budget. Councillor Lafreniere, go ahead.
So no one can deny the benefits of Buskerfest, and I want to make that clear. I also want to make it clear that it was me that used the term double dipping. And no offense should be taken, because technically, when you're taking two portions of money from different lines in a budget, it is kind of double dipping. And maybe it's not something that, like, it's not a slight, let's put it that way. It just means you're taking from different pockets within the city. And I just want to say that I think that this is the type of event that needs to participate in that grant process that we are talking about creating this year, the MAT tax. And the tourism committee I sit on with the mayor, we talked about that. We talked, possibly creating, and Mr. Durocher as well from Parks, creating a grant process where tourism objectives, such as Busker Fest and anything else that happens in the city, applies for money through a grant process. And that would satisfy, from a budgetary standpoint, you would be required to provide financials, and if it's a second time event, a budget or, a report from last year's event saying the revenue. And it just aligns better, because as Councillor Keel says, we don't fund everybody that comes here, and they're all good causes. So I'm not slighting the committee or the event at all. I was there. I thought it was fantastic. I do think they have to follow this process, though. And I know that we have a projected revenue already in our budget for the MAT tax. And I don't know if council would support this year, because the grant process is going to take some time to set up. Possibly this committee could consider granting them 5,000 out of the MAT tax, but making it clear that the next time the grant process will be in effect. So I don't know what the timeline like that looks like. I don't want to send this group of hardworking individuals off, thinking we don't appreciate them, because that's totally not correct. So I welcome comments from other members here. We probably could see that money come out of the MAT tax revenue. We haven't received it yet. That's the only thing. But this event, because it's, I believe, late in the summer, I think it was August last year, that's my thoughts. I don't think Mr. Durocher can get this grant process up and running this week. So if they were patient, it may be done by the summer. So that is my comment.
Mayor Gervais, and then, oh, pardon? Okay,
I have my hand up, Mr. Chair, as well.
you can go after Mayor Gervais.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I see that Mr. Binky's now changed your screen so that you can see everyone, because I certainly couldn't see anyone. You're not trying to not call on people. So two things. One, and then the last, I don't support the motion. Yes, I went looking for the December 9th letter, because I recalled seeing it, just like I recalled seeing this very lengthy email in terms of concerns about comments that were made by council members. It seems to me that on a number of occasions, council is already trying to tap the MAT tax when we don't even know how much it's going to generate. We don't even, know particulars about it. I know that the tourism, Councillor Frenier knows that the Tourism Advisory Committee talked about creating a policy as to how it would be used in a structured fashion, so it's not just being pulled in numerous different directions, trying to use newfound monies. I do take issue respectfully with the comment about who you know. I can publicly say that I only met this Miss Ells once when she came to operations to talk about operational issues, well before it even happened. Whether or not we had any concerns about the porta potties, did we have concerns about the garbage receptacles, and we did have concerns about a number of different things, and said you need to satisfy us of these operational things that if you've never done an event like that, not that I've ever done one of those events, but I can foresee certain challenges. And so we talked about that. And the only other time was on the day of the event. She came over to thank us for volunteering and assisting with it. That's the only interactions I've ever had with this particular lady. So it's not about who you know in terms of Miss Ells. I don't, other than those two situations, don't know the woman, so, but I just see that it's a worthy situation to fund it. And the last comment I will make, and then I'll leave it at that, in terms of the multicultural event, I never recall Miss Rajamani coming saying, here's a breakdown on how I'm going to spend the monies on the multicultural event. We're happy to give her certain funds and let her do a bang-up job, but I don't recall nickeling and diming and trying to figure out how she is going to run it. She runs a tight ship, and so I'll leave it at that.
Councillor Giacono, and then Councillor Keel, and then Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It does seem rather bizarre that, when Ms. Ells came to council previously looking for some support, there was some opposition to that we give them city money. And the fact was that there were a number of councillors who said they would be more than willing to put up their hand and fund it financially from their own pockets, thus putting a spotlight on their affluence and their ability to pay, while in essence putting other councillors who may not have that ability in rather a poor light. For that purpose, I would suggest in the future, I mean, it's a councillor's money, they can do whatever they want with it, but it may be more articulate to present that in an anonymous vein, rather than trying to make other councillors look as though they're not able to do that and keep up with the competition. So I take a little exception to that. When Ms. Ells came to the committee to look for support, I was one of the councillors who said I truly believed in Busker Fest. And I also indicated to her at that time, and I knew in my heart that it would be a success, that with that essence in mind, when it became a success, that she shouldn't come back the following year with a request for the same amount of money based on if they had a successful event. They should be able to help fund that. The fact that $15,000 appears as an anonymous number out of the blue, I don't know where that's coming from. And I do agree with the fact that there should be some sort of a financial statement that we can take a look at. And just because it says City of Pembroke shouldn't automatically give you a stamp that says they're going to give us money. We do for organizations. We look at them in individual circumstances, and I feel that they should give us some sort of a statement. And the fact that they're pointing out that various councillors did this and that, perhaps their memory is a little short when other councillors supported them in the beginning, and now we're taking the abuse from them in a letter. I particularly take a bit of an exception to that, as other councillors may. I mean, if she'd like to speak to me, talk to me, but to circulate that to everyone without my having a chance to defend myself, I find that in very poor taste. And as a councillor, I know I have a responsibility to those that have elected me, and also to those who did not elect me. I still believe that they will hear my voice at their request. I'm prepared to do that. And I would like to perhaps correspond with her in a very personal way on a one-to-one over a coffee, but I didn't get that opportunity. And a letter that I received at a later date. I did not see that anywhere in my inbox. And I have some consternation about that as well. So I really believe that we should have some sort of accounting for the funding that we did support them with last year. I'm not saying I don't want them to run away, but I mean, if they feel they're successful, it can be a partnership as well. But tell us what your needs are, and tell us why you have those needs. Thank you.
Mr. Keel?
Director DeRoche, if I forget what the community fund was. Was it 20,000, 25, something along that? Sorry? 15,000. Do we know when you would likely have that up and running? Do you have an estimated timeline if it gets approved in the budget, which it currently is sitting in?
Just through the chair, so we're anticipating that we would likely bring that policy to council in March. And then from there, we should have everything that would be ready. So sometime we're thinking about April, that would be able to launch it. Could be sooner depending on, if everything is approved in March.
So not holding you to it, because obviously council needs to have some more input on the policy or whatnot, but would it be your expectation that summer events at this point should be able to be captured in the program this year?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I'm going to have. I mean, with respect to a number of the comments were made, my point is that it looks like a who you know. And the reason I said that was because last year we had a meeting where Stereotypical came to this council in this chamber, and they asked for the road barrier fees to be waived. And we went around this table, and this was for a downtown music event in partnership with Lasso, which is a downtown tax-paying business. We went around this table talking about how bad of a budget year it is and how we need to be careful about how we use people's money. And we resoundingly, I think it was unanimous, we told them, no, we're not waiving the fees. Literally, at the next meeting, Miss L's and Buskerfest came to us and asked for the exact same thing. And we went around this table as though we completely forgot what we said 2 weeks earlier. And we said we would be more than happy to help you out. We'll raise the fees. We'll waive the fees. 3 councillors, including myself, did agree to sponsorship. To Councillor Giacono's point, I had already been in discussions with Ms. Summers about that, so that wasn't necessarily done spontaneously around the council table. The point that was made in December was we waived the fees by about $1,000 and some dollars, I think, after taking into account the councillors' $1,500, and now we know that they had a $12,000, approximately $12,000 surplus. So at the end of the day, you know, hindsight being 2020, that money was not necessarily needed, and it potentially took away from perhaps another ask that might have been made to us by another group later in the year. So the fact that we said yes, and the fact that they ended up with a surplus, this isn't about punishing them for being successful. I'm glad they were successful, and anybody out there should be more than happy to be able to run an event without municipal or government support. If only countless other organizations strive to be successful and to not be asking the government for help, because this isn't our money around the table. This is the taxpayers' money, and I have been hearing for the last week exactly how, well, I was partly in Toronto, but I've been hearing about, you know, how this is a horrendous tax increase, almost 9%. Now, I'll say, having attended Roma this past weekend, or last weekend, that I'll be honest with you, our percentage increase actually looks, frankly, quite good compared to the majority of councillors that I talk to from around the province. But that doesn't change the fact that, again, no one's saying that Buskerfest isn't deserving, but I think the appropriate way to do all of these, and I think I've been one of the most consistent councillors around this table. In fact, I think I've said no to almost every organization that has come asking for money, including the Stereotypical one. We need to have a process that doesn't look so political, that it doesn't look like it's about who you know, that people aren't scratching their heads saying, well, geez, they all said no last week, and then this week they flip-flopped and went in the other direction. So based on I was about to say Councillor DeRoche, based on Director DeRoche's comments, I say that we have Buskerfest, and frankly, in the future, we have everyone else apply through this new community fund. It will come with whatever policy the staff recommends. They will be able to adjudicate the application. It will look less political than being debated around this table, and it will also mean that it's falling within the bounds, that it will be falling in with the bounds of the budget set by council for these community contributions. I think that is the best, most transparent, most fair process to go through, and it appears that it is available for Buskerfest this summer.
Mr. Purcell,
Oh, sorry.
CEO, sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm just, cognizant of council's time in that, and just concerned not with your amended motion, but just how it's negative, the connotations to it. And I'm just wondering if a better approach or a suggested approach would be that if council wants to table the motion until Director Durocher, I don't think I've ever called him Director Durocher, puts together the grant program, and then the Busker Festivals can bring it forward at that time. That's just a suggestion rather than keep on talking around the table on it, and just table the motion until the application process is developed through Parks and Rec.
Councillor Purcell?
Thank you, Chair. I also take exception in terms of who you know. I don't know Miss Els, and I'll be going back and looking at the video in terms of the intent of that comment. The first time I met her was when she came to council in terms of asking for support last year. That being said, I also take exception to some of the comments that are being made. It's quite clear that they were just asking on December the 9th, and I'll read it so that just in case people haven't read it, we would be delighted to meet with you or your representatives to discuss the request in more detail and explore how we can work together to make Busker Fest 2025 another unforgettable experience. At that time, then we request details in regards to budget and those kinds of things. Talking about a process isn't even hasn't even been instituted as of yet. I wholeheartedly agree with that process, but it's not instituted yet. So, and I don't know how many people have actually planned big events like this in terms of capturing the talent that you want to have here, but it's very competitive for the performers. So if we don't put dollars out right now to secure those individuals that are coming, it may impact the amount of talent that we receive. The other thing is that Busker Fest supported all of downtown. It was from one end to the other of downtown. So it supported all businesses, unlike some of the other events where maybe one business would actually have a little bit more proceeds because maybe there was a bar open at that particular time. So they would receive the proceeds in terms of that event. Can I ask also maybe Director Durocher in regards to, is Ribfest returning this year? It is? Is the Music of a Cause returning this year? We don't know. Well, we might not have Busker Fest returning this year, because I think what they're looking for is they're looking for support from council in regards to moving forward with some funding to support the event. Yes, I understand that they were successful in terms of getting some initial funds raised for the inaugural event, but it came on the backs of many individuals within our community that because of associations or friends of friends, that's how those dollars were raised. It's not sustainable. So, if we want to celebrate Pembroke, we want to celebrate the downtown, we want to perform these types of activities, I think a $5,000 plus, some waiving of fees is not a huge ask. So I just caution council, and it's not a threat, but, Busker Fest may not return to Pembroke. I'm just saying that. I wanted to return to Pembroke, and that's the reason why I'm interested, because I did think it was successful. And I think you asked any of the downtown businesses, in fact, you ask anybody, because of the poor, because of concerns that we had downtown that we're addressing and that we have addressed, there were some bad feelings in regards to safety of downtown. People coming downtown didn't feel that, that it was safe to actually, and then they come down with their families and they enjoy the downtown for a whole day. And you know what? Those businesses actually made those connections with individuals purchasing products, if not that time, future visits to downtown. So it was very successful. So, if this council does not want to support it or it wants to wait, my only concern about waiting is that we should consult Busker Fest just to make sure that they understand, because I don't want them to impact the talent. And if it does impact the talent, I'm hoping that we can come to some other solution, such as even taking the $5,000 out of the ratepayer stabilization fee that we put $350,000 into. And I kind of find it also kind of ironic that we're spending this much time on a $5,000 ask. Meanwhile, you know, we're spending $330,000 a year for new positions, which results in a 1.32% rate increase, with actually, when we, City of Pembroke had 0% growth. So all we're doing is just reallocating $5,000 that we know we can find in the budget. So if we don't use the $5,000 for there, where we put the $5,000 if they can find $5,000 in the budget?
Councillor Jackson will speak, then I'll speak, then I'll call the question of the amended motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of council. I know this bit of an emotional topic. I know we all want to make the right decision. We certainly don't want to send people away or chase them out of the way. But I think, you know, they probably received the financing for the initial Busker Fest based on their presentation and some of the information they brought forward to us, that these events were happening in other areas, such as City of Ottawa, Cornwall, Brockville, and how successful they were. And I think based on that, council probably made their decision to support it. And as Councillor Purcell said, you know, if an individual business comes forward, you know, asking for support, because there may be, and I'm not pointing anybody out, they may have a bar, etc. I mean, does that impact the whole downtown, as he said, from one end to the other? No, it does not. It certainly puts a spotlight on one individual business. And to me, I think that would be incorrect. But again, council has the ability to look at each individual proposal or set parameters as to a policy as to whenever these requests come forward, that there will be a set amount of money set aside for any particular event based on the availability of the dollars being there. So that's all I have to say. And I think that, you know, it's nice to have a letter in hand so you can correspond with a person. But I did not get that correspondence till late in the week. And, you know, I question that. And where did that correspondence go? Did it go to my junk mail? No. It came to my inbox based on information I received from somebody else at council. So, I mean, if we're going to get information, let's all get it. Let's not just have one or two or three people get the information to make a decision. And this, you know, this observation that you have friends in high places. Well, what's the old Garth Brooks song? I've got friends in low places. And I think we have to determine that we all have to make a decision based on information that all of us receive, not just a few people. Now, I don't understand why that happened. Maybe it was a technical glitch. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but I mean, I certainly would like to review that information myself and respond to the particular individual that's making comments about my integrity and my ability to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've been communicating with Bethia Summers, the director of the PBA, and Ms. Els, who chairs the event. And they did submit the letter. And this committee raised close to over $40,000 on their own. And the city partnered with them, was a sponsor for $5,000 last year, plus some other donations in kind, I believe. And I have great faith in the committee and the community to support the Busker Fest. When I was downtown that day, people were coming up to me, and we were talking, and I was talking about the retailers, and you know, we had a store downtown for 60 years. And people came up to me and said, when was the last time you saw the downtown this busy? And I can tell you when. It was probably when the Sesame Centennial was on in '78. My friends and I participated in a bed race downtown. And it was really busy back then, and everyone thought it was great. So I think it has the potential to turn into a signature event, a destination event. In speaking with Ms. Els and Ms. Summers, they want to have a bigger budget this year. And communities are built on partnerships. The city, we don't have the staff to go out and organize all these events, so it's built on partnerships. And you know, the original ask was 15,000. They're asking for 5,000, plus the barricades, which Councillor Purcell pointed out covers the whole downtown. So we have a motion to amend for them to come with a report. before any consideration of funds are considered. Though,
Point of order.
yes,
I would ask the chair to find that the motion to amend was a negative motion and is improper and that it be withdrawn.
oh, you're withdrawing your,
I'm asking, well, I can't just withdraw.
What-
I'm asking you to find that it's improper as a negative motion.
what was your motion?
So, yeah, so I can interject. So, yeah, it was a negative motion, so I think if we went ahead with the amendment, I think the clerk might have some suggestions on how we would phrase it, or, but the motion currently, as I mentioned before, is a negative motion.
So I would just ask that the chair withdraw it.
Okay, so withdraw the amended motion.
And then I move we table the original motion.
Okay, motion to table, seconder, Councillor Plummer. No discussion. Those in favor of tabling? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you raise your hand again, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? 3. Motion carried, so the motion's tabled. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted a point of clarification. So, so there was some discussion in regards to communications that was sent out. So I can say that the email that was received was sent out on June 20th at 3:20 p.m. to all council, and it was sent out again on Wednesday, January 23rd at 10:25. So both of those were sent out. If individuals are not getting their emails, then, you know, they'll have to contact our IT department. But other people within that email list are getting them, so I'm not sure what the issue is. And then the initial letter that we received from the Busker Festival in early December was also circulated to all council.
Any
Question,
other?
question?
Yes.
Did any other members of council not receive that letter in January?
I didn't receive it. It went to my junk mail, and then I notified the Ms. Rappin, Office Admin, to forward it to council. It was in my junk mail.
Very good. Were there any other members that did not receive it on that date as well? 1, 2,
I just got it last week.
4. So obviously, thank you. Just for clarification.
Thank you. Moving along, any other discussion? Oh, yes, Councillor Frenier.
I just want to caution council, as the CAO just commented, this is budget day 3. We've just spent an hour discussing a budget item that was discussed at length at a previous meeting. I know that not all councillors could make all the budget meetings, but it is so important that all councillors try their best to be at the budget meetings, because this is what happens. And I'm not taking away from any of the opinions. I hear what's being said about the issues, but this could really, maybe we should start scheduling 2 weeks budget talks, because if we have to revisit every decision that the ones that did make the budget meetings made, we're going to be here probably for another 3 budget days. So I just want to say that we spent a lot of time debating a lot of issues, and there was some councillors that couldn't make a couple of the meetings. So I just want to caution you, you're going to hear a lot of the same things from some of us if those are all coming back to the table. And staff has been here and been very patient with us. So thank you, staff. I just wanted to say that.
Councillor Purcell.
Thanks for pointing that out, Pat. Yeah, I was one of those councillors that couldn't make it, and unfortunately, you know, when you know, back in November of last year, whenever I provided notice in terms of, you know, that I would not be available, you know, we still proceeded with the meetings as well. That being said, it's very important that some of the information will be rehashed today, because I'm looking out for the best interests in terms of not only our downtown businesses, but the residents of the city of Pembroke. this is the last kick at the can that we have in regards to making sure that the rates are acceptable to our residents, and that, you know, what's in the budget, it's set up so it allows these types of initiatives to move forward successfully. So, yeah, it just happened to be the time that I went on vacation, and it just didn't coincide with some of the meetings that were being held. But no different than, you know, times that other councillors don't make it to other important meetings. You know, it's no different than any other type of meeting, right? So we try our best to be here, but there's times that we are entitled to vacation, and unfortunately, you know, tried my best to accommodate, but it was unsuccessful and just didn't have access to internet. So where I was at. So, but thanks for bringing that to attention there, Pat. Appreciate it.
Councillor Lafreniere, then we'll move on.
Yes, I understand, through the chair. If Zoom was not available, that's fine. Budgets are the most important meetings we attend during the year. And I'm just using my own history on council that I do believe Councillor Jackman will back me up on this. When we first came to council, we were told, don't book any vacation in January because it's budgets. And I'm sorry, I know you said you booked it a whole year ago, but I think it's so important that we're all here for all the discussions. And we were told if you were sick, you email. Back then there was no Zoom, but it was get in touch with staff. Write out, have another counselor bring your opinions to the table about these items. So I'm not trying to, you know, be the serious parent here. And I'm just saying that maybe it's something we need to look at, because staff time is precious and these decisions are very important. So I understand, you know, the importance, Councillor Purcell. I'm not taking away from that. I'm just saying I think we need to look at this.
Thank you. Are there any other items any councillor wants to discuss before we have a motion to accept the budgets? Do we have a motion to accept the draft operating capital budget? Councillor Keel?
I'll move that the committee accepts the 2025 draft operating and capital budget as amended with an overall levy increase after growth of 8.98%. A regrettable number, Mr. Chair, but as it was just spoken after 3 days, I think that's where we have unfortunately fallen.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Plummer? Motion on the floor to accept the draft operating and capital budget as amended with an overall levy increase after growth of 8.90%. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Keel.
I will try and make this quick, Mr. Chair, and I don't presume to speak on behalf of all of council, although I would suspect that I probably am. I think it's clear none of us are happy about an 8.98% increase. I think it's been made clear by not just our treasurer, but Mr. Chair, you attended Roma with me this weekend. There is a significant part of the population that is actually going to see double-digit increases. I believe at this point in time, we ourselves in Renfrew County are aware of municipalities that with their lower tier percentage increase, plus the upper tier percentage increase, that many of our neighbors will be in double-digit territory, and I think the mayor spoke on that issue during the public meeting. So I just want to be clear, I'm not happy about an 8.98% increase. I have a residential house in Pembroke. I have a commercial building in Pembroke. You know, I'll be paying these taxes just like everyone else, but as Councillor Lafreniere just pointed out, we've spent 3 days going through this. In my first term, we have never gone at a budget in such detail and taking such time as we have this time around. So I hope the residents know that we've approached this very seriously. I just honestly don't know what else to do to make it lower. And unfortunately, after attending Roma and speaking with other municipalities and, of course, a couple of the sessions that we heard from the speakers, you know, the days of 0, 1, 2s, and 3% seem to be over, and I want the residents to know that's not just me saying that. That seems to be council members from all across Ontario. I'm not sure if you made it known, but our chair and our finance chair did speak with the Minister of Finance while down in Roma, and basically pleaded the case that we need a new relationship between municipal funding and the province. The deputy mayor made that case directly to the finance minister. I was there when he did it. It's some tough choices are going to have to be made, or some new funding is going to have to come in. But just as a generic comment on the motion I just moved, Mr. Chair, I'm not happy with the number. I would love for it to be several points lower. I just don't know how to do that without closing buildings, cutting services, having rec facilities deteriorate. And obviously, I think in our next, the next step of our asset management plan, I think, is speaking with the residents about the services and levels of service that they want to see. And I think that's going to be an important and serious conversation with the residents of the city of Pembroke and the residents across Ontario.
As we do with every budget, before we vote on the motion, we'll have everyone on council an opportunity to comment on the motion and the budget. And I'll just go around the table. Councillor Purcell?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it is a difficult number. That being said, Wednesday, there's going to be a call for a provincial election, and I would strongly suggest that everybody reach out to their MPP, and really communicate that, that the funding is inadequate to all municipalities in regards to the types of services. We've seen downloading, even in terms of, well, I'll go back to the warming center, in terms of some of those social issues that we're addressing that really aren't a mandate of municipal council. That being said, we need to kind of continue to voice our concerns, either looking at, part of the GST or, part of a reimbursement for land transfer taxes, those kinds of things. But there needs to be a different funding model. And again, this is an opportunity moving forward as of Wednesday is to have those discussions. I can even draft something up to even send to the member of parliament, provincial parliament, and send it out there and really kind of advocate on behalf of municipalities, because in all fairness, we're residents of City of Pembroke as well. I can tell you my taxes currently are $6,000 plus $1,425. So what's that? Almost $7,500 for a bungalow in the City of Pembroke. So that's going up to about $8,000 a year because I'm valued at $305 instead of the average in terms of $180. That's significant dollars, right? $8,000 in terms of municipal taxes for the services that we receive. So I'm no different than other ratepayers. I'm on a fixed income as well. It hurts. But I do think that we're moving in the right direction. The city is moving in the right direction. We in this budget we have a transit option, which is awesome. So that's some good news. We've got 4 new positions starting at the City of Pembroke, which is also good news out of this budget as well. Some other good opportunities is we also are putting $350,000 away in terms of a rate levy stabilization fee, which is successful as well. So that way there we're looking at minimizing some of the impacts in terms of the OPP policing for future years as well. So I think there's a lot of thought that went into this, and I think it was broken down that way. I think you'll understand that there's not a lot of frivolous spending, and I know that there's also some good news stories that are happening in regards to the homeless front as well, and stay tuned for some good news there. But it's all impacting in terms of the dollars that we spend. So I look forward to to this year. I hope that we don't have some of the challenges that we're seeing in regards to trade wars and those kinds of things that really affect everybody. Some of the big businesses here in Pembroke that operate, that sell to the United States could be impacted. It's uncertain right now, but what we need to do is, and it's one of the things that I'm seeing as a result of some of the tariff threats, is that Canadians are coming together. And we need Pembroke to come together. We need our bordering municipalities to come together. And let's have some discussions, because we can't continue operating independently in silos, and really looking at opportunities where we can share positions, where we can share services, where we can look at cost savings that are not only good for one municipality, but also good for another municipality. So keep that in mind, and that'll be some of the work that I'll be looking to do this year, is looking at for efficiencies, looking for opportunities to partner, looking at opportunities when I hear about them to see how, not just Pembroke, but the whole area can benefit. Because, we all know that if somebody purchases a house, if it's not in Pembroke, it's in a neighboring municipality such as Rancho Valley, we all gain. So we got to keep that in mind, and that we're building relationships, and we're going to continue building those relationships for the success of Pembroke. And ultimately, I do think we're in a better position than we were last year, although I know this number is hard to swallow, but we are moving forward and we're actually progressing and moving the homeless front, moving transit, bettering our downtown, doing all kinds of these initiatives that I think are really, really important. So I'd just like to say kudos to this council, and I'd also like to say kudos to the staff of the City of Pembroke for all their hard work. And I look forward to another great year in terms of, getting things done and moving the bar, to help residents really enjoy this wonderful city and really be proud of the city that we actually live in. So thank you.
Mr. Plummer?
Thank you, Chair. How to follow that with, our two councillors, I think it's just be repeating mostly concerns, but obviously understanding that 8.9, no one wants to be at 8.9%. It's not, council didn't set out to do this budget and say we're going to be just shy of 10, we want to be up there. No, of course not. We are funding a lot. The city is growing, not as fast as we hope, but it is growing, and with growing comes expense and that. But I think the biggest one will be have to look at levels of service going forward. Like, where do we want to be? What sort of level of services are we going to provide as a city to the citizens? And that's something we're going to have to ask the citizens too. They say, are you looking for that immediate response? Are you looking for door-to-door service? Or are you looking for, understand that we can, lower our taxes a bit, but, we may not get that plow out there first thing in the, urgently, or it may take a little bit longer to get back to someone, or, just looking at different ways to fund and different ways we actually spend money in the city. I think that's really what we're going to look at. So it all boils back to level of service, what the city can provide and what's reasonable to the citizen. But as I say, we all as council worked together with staff, did a really good job in understanding everything line item of the budget. It took many hours to do, but I think we came out here a lot more knowledgeable, but also understanding that we have to respect the taxpayer and that there's only one, and we'll be moving forward and doing the best we can with what's provided. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Frenier?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to repeat a lot of what's been said. However, when we started the budget process, I believe we were closer to 10.9%. And we really worked with staff. Staff went back to, tried to shave a little more off here and there. And really, this is a bare bones budget, unless you want to look at levels of service, as Councillor Plummer said. And we did discuss that during budget deliberations as well. And we're pushing and we're doing more and we're coming up with plans for this and plans for that. But to implement those plans, to make those changes necessary in our community for lifestyle or safety or whatever the plan is related to, you need to implement them, and that costs money. So we discussed that as well. We discussed the burden on staff when it comes to the demands on staff. So what we asked ourselves was, what can we afford to do? And what levels can we expect from staff? Maybe sometimes they need to push it back to us, and that's not easy for them to hear, but maybe we're asking too much if they feel they need an extra person in their department. So it's exactly like Councillor Plummer said. We need to look at levels of service going forward. Where can we find efficiencies? And we've already been doing that. One other thing, I was talking to a ratepayer just this week, and he was expressing his thoughts on, the 8.9% and where's our community going when it comes to cost sharing. We had a long discussion about our successful water and sewer agreement and how much improved that is, the fact we're renegotiating it this year. And he had questioned the new development going in off Angus Campbell and what types of fees are our neighbors paying for those services. And this man is knowledgeable, and I won't disclose who it is, but he works in the community, quite a well-known business person. He wanted me to make sure, as all councillors are, is that we are paying what our they are paying what our services are worth. So I always encourage staff to look for ways maybe that if there's an inequity in our cost sharing, to look for it. So I think that's also somewhere we have to go this year, not just levels of service, but our cost, the value of the services we're providing to other municipalities. So I want to thank members of council. I want to thank staff. And I just want to remind everyone that even if you're at the level of taxation that Councillor Purcell is, I'm about the same as him, it's costing us approximately $20 a day. If you are paying $7,500 a year for your taxes and your water and sewer, you're paying $20 a day to flush your toilet as much as you want, to shower as much as you want, sewer, roads, police, fire, parks and recreation, snow removal. So you are getting a lot, but I know that taxes are high, and I won't debate that. But I want to remind you that, you're still doing a lot. We're doing a lot for you for that dollar. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The word efficiencies has come up quite a number of times, and my colorful 25 years on sitting around the table or being involved with council, that word has always come forward at every council term. And I think we're efficient. We have been efficient to death, and we're now on a skeleton efficiency program. I think what has to happen, and if the community doesn't want to hear about another tax increase next year, then what has to happen is the province has to step up to the plate and give us back the money that we've been giving them over the years, and they've downloaded us the services that we cannot operate efficiently without nailing the taxpayer to the floor, with a couple of pegs through their feet. They cannot move. We will become bankrupt. Sure, it looks like we've got a big amount of money in a reserve fund, but if your water tower breaks, your water pollution plant collapses, and your water intake plant all happen to collapse for some unknown reason in 1 or 2 years, we're in big trouble. The province has to take on the duty that they've assumed, and they have to give us back some of that funding. And I think you're seeing it coming forward a little bit now through various programs to help the homeless, etc. And as Councillor Keel said, there's an election coming. That may have something to do with it. But they have to take on the responsibility. And from the Roma conference, as you'd mentioned, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Keel, everybody in the province feels the same. It's not just us, poor us. It's 444 municipalities are saying we need a hand here. Don't tell us to be more efficient. We can't be any more efficient because we have less staff. You've given us more work. So how can we be more efficient on the same amount of money every year and run a balanced budget? So if the taxpayers of the city of Pembroke want to hear about a very minimal budget increase or a 0% tax increase, the only way that's going to happen is to get the province to get online and to give us a hand up. Staff as well has worked very hard. Your Worship, I know you're at the head of the team. It's difficult for you as the mayor. I know you correspond on a fairly regular basis with our members of parliament, both federal and provincial. And I believe they understand what we're going through, not only not only this municipality, but municipalities right across the province. And unless things change, you can expect to get hit with another tax increase. I'm not making a forecast, but I'm just looking at the overall picture. We spent over 40 hours, approximately, maybe more, in budget deliberations. And if you multiply that by the number of people that deliberated, I mean, you've got 200 and some hours of man hours looking at a budget that is not what the taxpayer wants to hear. We've had no choice. It's a dilemma. The province has to step up to the plate. I'd like to thank the staff again for doing the best they could with what they've got, with the resources at hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Gervais?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to pick up where Councillor Giacono left off, certainly one of the more arduous budget processes since we switched to this format instead of doing line by line, and believe it or not, for some of the councillors, we used to look at it line by line. And perhaps it's because this budget, we almost did that, looking at it from line by line, given the seriousness of the rate increase. And so to begin by even adding an additional day to be looking at this, trying to see what we could, and as Councillor Giacono says, all of us looking at our package of material and going over it and over it, trying to see where's that magic line that we could cut, or something we could do that would assist. And so, having said that, a heartfelt thank you to all of the council members for taking this as seriously as it requires, to review all the different documents to try and get a grasp on what the subject matter is, and trying to figure out from our own vantage point what can be done, meeting with your directors to review certain items and the entire segments of the budget in advance to have a better grip on those sections. A thank you to all of staff, starting with our CAO, and then all the way down in terms of the Treasury Department, and it's the directors, it's the support staff, it's everyone. I know last time we were talking about different parts of our staff, but it's all staff, and when it's ramping up for budget time, because if you try to make certain requests of certain staff members, they'll answer your request, but you know that there's a focus on something else, and it's budget. They're trying to prepare this so that when we look at it, it's coherent. You can rely on it, and this is what we're dealing with, and then we get to make the appropriate decisions. But it's certainly, as has been expressed to me, a team effort. So all staff coming together, funneling up the information to the Treasury Department, and then having the Treasury Department put it in a format that we can digest it and debate it and so forth. One of the items that's been discussed this evening is what I call predictable and sustainable funding. So it always seemed to be, on my time on council, is that we would apply for grants, and then you would wait, was the expression, with bated breath to see whether or not you got it. And it's difficult doing things like that. How do you run, like, you wouldn't run your household that way. It's like, well, maybe I'll win the lottery and get extra couple thousand and I'll put in a new furnace. You're not going to function that way. But that seemingly has been the process over years and years and years. And so even when there's different funding envelopes, there's no guarantee that you would get it. And I know that the CEO and I have been on conference calls, and other municipalities are screaming because their funding is getting cut, and then we're sort of going, ooh, Jesus, ours didn't get cut. And so we're thankful it didn't get cut, but there's no certainty there. And so how is it that even with that funding envelope that you conduct business, and I know what Councillor Giacono is saying, is certain things are downloaded on us, and how do you expect us to do that if you don't have the predictable, sustainable funding? And there is, I know I've talked to Councillor Keel at different times about land transfer tax, and there is other methods that there would be predictable. It might fluctuate, but it's predictable in the sense that there would be funding. And let's face it, after we went through COVID and everyone's housing prices went up, there is funds there. There's a reason why different levels of government are able to provide different funds to different things and make certain promises, is they're experiencing this influx of funds that we see as lawyers. And so we know that it's there, and it's making presentations to our MPP. It's having conversations with whether it be the premier, whatever, to try and get that across to them that we know that you have funds. You can't deny that you have certain funds, and so all we're looking for is a certain percentage of it, not looking for the lion's share of it, but give us something that's predictable, sustainable, to supplement what it is that we get from the ratepayers to be able to conduct business. It's been said this evening about different things about levels of service, and I said it at the last, I think it was the last meeting when we were talking about operations, that you've got the, levels of service. You've got an asset management plan that's saying that we're supposed to be committing all these funds. We heard it again this evening, and yet we're not committing the funds to it. And so we're committing some funds. We're getting better, but and from what I understand, all the municipalities are in the same boat. But so the province needs to understand that, and I think they do understand that, and they're trying to figure out, well, what is it that we do to assist these different municipalities? But it's this ability to pay, and there's levels of service, and trying to balance that for the ratepayer. And I know that no one wants to see something cut back. We saw that last year whenever there was certain indications about the pool and there was an outcry. If you try to pull things away, then there's always an impact and an outcry. And so you're trying to figure out that balance and making sure that it balances. As I started this budget process, I said it's going to be a tough one, and I noted that there was a number of new positions listed in there, and new initiatives being the transit, and all of these different things come to play when one looks at the budget. And it's not to take away from staff. I don't want anyone to think that. It's not to take away from being pulled in numerous different directions. We're a single-tier municipality. We have all of the issues, all of the different jobs to handle. We're not like other, we're not a lower tier municipality, and we can rely upon the county for planning or for other things. No, it's all in one shot here, which then, as Councillor Keel was mentioning, and I've said it and I'll say it again so that the public gets it, is that whenever we say that this is the rate increase, this is the rate increase, as opposed to lower tier municipalities that might say, oh, it's 7%, but what they're not telling you is that they have a county levy on top of that, and so where does that bring them? And so I encourage individuals that are in other municipalities, or even our ratepayers who are saying, well, how come in municipality X, why are they only paying an increase of X? It's like, no. So they're not telling you about the county levy that's on top of it. So I keep, former Councillor Scott always used to say that, and I'll continue to say it so that the public understands that particular one. We talked about growing the tax base, and so we had a recent report about the number of new builds that are ready to go. It's a matter of encouraging these developers to get going, build these units, and that would assist us in terms of growing the tax base, being the residential one. But there's always the commercial one, and I know that in terms of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, we're on things, and it's a matter of making those things happen, which would benefit our community. And it is a matter of community. I know the one thing that I've learned from our CAO is this community, this concept of partnerships. It's working with all the other municipalities, and they're challenged as well. But how can we work together? Can we assist each other with equipment? Can we look at different ways of purchasing power? Is the latest one. Can we do these different things and work together? And that partnership also is with the County of Renfrew. And I've said it before, and sometimes I've been criticized for it, but I don't think that the relationship has been ever this good between the county and the city. Not suggesting that, as one former mayor was looking at in terms of rejoining the county, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that working together, because we need to work together. We provide them funds, they handle certain parts of what we supply to our taxpayers, and being social services, and so we need to ensure that relationship continues regardless of who that warden is. And I end off on a positive note, is to remind the public in terms of the auditor coming to see us recently and saying that we are in a strong financial position and in a low category when it came to indebtedness. So certainly I'd like to think that we are doing a good job at trying to advance the city of Pembroke with what we have, and we're taking it seriously. And, it's tough. Thank you.
Thank you. So my comments are like I said at the last budget meeting, I would go to Roma with Councillor Keel and the CEO, and Doug Ford spoke and gave his speech about funding that had already been announced previously. And he spoke about the tariffs and the necessary possible election. And I walked right up to the finance minister in the hallway after and introduced myself. And I basically said to him, we have 8.90% this year, 7.9% last year, and we can't keep going down this road. Residents are not happy, and council's not happy, and you need to take back some of the downloaded programs that you downloaded a number of years ago, or take back part of them. And he informed me that they increased OSIP funding with Growth Supports Infrastructure by $100 million, and I said, yes, thank you. But that's shared between 444 municipalities. And then he said to me, we continue to be engaged with AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. And then the conversation was done. And then we went to the Associate Minister of Finance Department, and we talked about the land transfer tax, and they told us that's not going to happen. And then I told the same line. I told the Minister of Finance that you need to take back some of the programs, or sit down with AMO and redo the set up a financial review task force that AMO's been lobbying for. And the comment was at the end, we're looking at different ways of handling the property tax, so there's no promise. And yes, the election is a good time. Whether or not we need an election right now, that's questionable. We need to continue to lobby the government, and as Councillor Giacono said last meeting, encourage our residents to tell the provincial government, we've had enough, you got to redo the model. The money's there. The financial auditor of the province came out today with an estimate of what it costs to put liquor in the corner stores. I think it was, over $500 million, and it's going to go up. So the money is there, just need to rejig it. I want to personally, I want to thank the treasurer and her staff for a wonderful job, and the CEO. And this was all done while you worked on the transit portfolio. So I've seen you walk out of the building after hours, and I want to commend you. I want to give you a round of applause, you and your staff. Yeah. And also the directors and managers and all the staff looking for cost savings, because a number of items were cut from the budget. The staff didn't come with a wish list and say, here you go, you figure it out. They figured it out before. We were at close to 11%. We got it down to 8.98. And it doesn't matter what percentage increase it is. There will still be residents that are not happy, and I don't blame them. We can tell them that we got transit going, a 3-year pilot project, which I think is fantastic, but it still involves 2.03% over 3 years. We had an increase in our staff salaries. You have to pay your staff an increase, or they'll leave. You have to treat people fairly. We went to the Ministry of Social Services, the three of us, with the County of Renfrew, and we asked for funds for the warming center and the other services that we're taking on extra for social services. And the county says they're using their reserves, and we're saying we're increasing our taxes to cover this. So we're telling them that, and they take notes and they listen to us. So we have to keep lobbying for that. So it's not as if we're not sending the message and representing the community, the message, what we're looking for. But the message was we can't keep going down this road, and as a council, we have to continue lobbying, work with AMO, work with the warden of Renfrew County and his caucus through the mayor, and deliver that message to them, because something has to change. So there'll be cutbacks. You don't want to cut back any services, and sometimes you can't because we have liability issues. As director of operations always says, there's a liability. Now, one of the positive things, and the mayor has alluded to this, at Roma, we had some shared delegations with the Whitewater and also Renfrew County, and we talked to Petawawa, Laurentian Valley, just chit-chatting in the hotel lobby, and the county Renfrew and Whitewater, and everyone is energetic and positive to work with Pembroke on programming and saving dollars. That's a positive. We have a very good relationship with the county, and I know that staff and the council will try and find those efficiencies that we have. But anyhow, everything else has been said, what I was going to say. It's not, budget time is the most difficult time. It's not a happy time. We got the transit, we have an investment officer that we're hiring, investment attraction. So those are the positives. And we're all going to work together as a community and work with other communities to find new revenue and growth. But in order to have that growth, you have to have stability. If you don't have stability, things get off task and, things go not good. So with that, we have a motion on the floor from Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer, that the committee accepts the 2025 draft operating and capital budget as amended with an overall levy increase after growth of 8.9%. Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you. And next steps, Madame Lotchty, or Miss Lotchty?
Thank you. So we'll do a final summary of the budget, and it will be presented at the February 18th meeting of council, along with all of the relevant bylaws, so water rates, sewer rates, tax ratios. So all of that will come forward to committee and council on the 18th of February. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the directors, because as much as, we go through the budget, they're the ones that have to make the miracles happen with the money they have. So it's certainly a big process that starts with them, and they put a lot of effort into it as well. So thank you, everybody, for your help in making this process a success once again this year. Again, not ideal, but, thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Plummer, Mayor Gervais, those in favor? We are adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.